everybody! It's so good to see all of your faces again. Or, I guess, I won't see your faces, but it's good for you to see my face still. Hello, my name is Cherry Cheeks. I am a burlesque performer, and I am very excited to go on this journey with you all. It is so good to see other people, even though I may not actually see some of you, but it's good to have makeup on, and it's good for me to get back into my skin. What is this? What am I doing? So we've kind of gone through quite a bit last year. 2020 it was a long year. 2021 is getting to be that way already as well, but you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to get back into burlesque. I definitely miss it. I miss my people, and I miss connecting with people and getting all sparkly. I figured what better way to get back into it than to discuss some burlesque. Maybe you're new, maybe you've been performing for a decade or 20 years, maybe you've been performing only in your own city but haven't left yet. Maybe. I'm very excited to kind of discuss some things about burlesque and maybe what it is from my perspective, and I'm really hoping to make some really cool videos and get some behind the scenes and other things that come along with burlesque, especially if you're new to burlesque and what that means. I'm very excited to share some content and see what you all think. Today, what are we talking about? So you can't quite expand your burlesque and improve without first knowing what it is. What is burlesque? Well, thankfully, thank you to a popular movie, we all know what burlesque is now, right?
It's a life, it's a style, it's a need, it's burlesque.
Nice try, but no. I think it is a good segue. A lot of people did get into burlesque because of that movie, and a lot of people might still get into it because of that movie. I mean, it is what it is. It's Hollywood taking something that exists in real life and then kind of putting their spin on it and not really doing the full story. Because of the movie Burlesque, people might think it's dancing and group work and all of these fancy dance steps with that sex appeal like Christina Aguilera typically has, even outside of that movie. That is just one piece of the pie. What burlesque really is striptease. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to prepare for. A lot of people want to do burlesque and get into it, but they don't actually realize that you gotta get nude. So let's dive in, shall we? In the late 1800s, it came over to North America, and it started originally as to mimic and comedy and to poke fun of high society. There was actually no striptease involved, and nobody got naked on stage. It was very shocking to have women on stage at the time, and so that was one way they kind of came on stage, was to do that comedy. And eventually, in the early 1900s, it very quickly transformed. And it wasn't actually till the early 1900s when striptease became a part of burlesque, and that's when we had this huge wave. And 1920 to about 1930 is what we call the golden age of burlesque, and that was burlesque in its prime and its absolute golden days. It really kept innovating itself. There have been all these different layers with it because of what happened in the 20s and then onto the 40s and the 50s and the 80s, and it really transformed over time. And so many of the moves that we have today in burlesque and many of the costume pieces that are so signature, there's a lot of really cool history to it, and that is why we have it today. Around the 80s or the 90s, we had some really cool burlesque legends. In burlesque, we have legends, which are the trailblazers, and they are the people who innovated burlesque and kept doing it and kept fighting for the rights to do it. Because of them, that's why we can do burlesque today, and that's why we have so much freedom around what we do with it as well. Where back in the day, it used to be very intense. There were laws around burlesque. There was that whole idea of what is sexuality, and you have to be very feminine and you have to be very sensual. Burlesque, of course, because there's striptease in the title, it's all about the tease. Today, because of the people in the 80s and the 90s who kind of revamped it and re-innovated again and continue to do that, now we have what we call neo-burlesque. Neo-burlesque is new age burlesque, and what we had before that, when you have that very feminine, sensual tease element, that is actually what we call classic burlesque. That is what you still see a lot of performers doing today, to kind of have that ode to the past and also to just have fun. It's okay to still want to just be sexy and to be on stage and be super feminine or be super masculine or be whatever you need to be. And whatever sensuality looks like to you, that's totally cool. Right from the beginning, like I said, burlesque was talking about mocking high society. That comedy and those politics have always been in burlesque, and now there's a lot of emphasis on it still, and it is so cool to see what people do with it, and there's so many people reclaiming their space. And now we have things like Nordlesk. What does it look like to see Mario taking his clothes off? You can do funny, you can do sensual, you can tell a full story. People have puppets on stage. The things you see people do on stage, you might just be taking your clothes off, but it's way more than just taking your clothes off. Burlesque, to me, is so much about those reveals and what can you do with it. When I make burlesque acts, I always try to have that level of how can I make every reveal matter? And how can I make every reveal either tell a story or lead into the next reveal? A lot of the time you might see rhinestones, like I have in my little hair flower, and that's what you add sparkle with. You see people with pasties and with really fancy costume pieces, and you see people on stilts, and you see so many things. And that's what I love about burlesque, is that innovation and being shocked and not seeing something coming and then having it happen. You really get a community, and you really get that sense of, I'm not the only one who is like this. And a lot of the people who you meet in burlesque are kind of weird, not gonna lie, but they're my favorite people. This is only my first video, but I am really excited to expand what it means to do burlesque and ways to do it. And there's just so much to know, especially if you're brand new to burlesque. It can be very overwhelming very fast, especially nowadays when we don't really have live shows. Depending on when you're watching this, we're in a pandemic at the moment, so a lot of people are at home and a lot of people don't do much anymore. So I'm very excited for shows to come back again. In the meantime, go on Google, look at some really cool history. We have such a juicy history with burlesque. Go on YouTube and Vimeo, you can see more videos of burlesque. You can see group acts and you can see solos. There's no boundaries with burlesque. I'm so excited to see what you do, and I'm very, very excited, especially to see you grow and to hopefully help you and go on this journey together. And whether you're brand new to burlesque or you've been performing for a lot of years now, I would love to hear from you. Please comment down below, and I would love to hear what got you into burlesque and why have you kept doing it if you are still performing. If you want to keep receiving videos, whether those are tips, tricks, tutorials, maybe some behind the scenes stuff, please, I would love to see you like, subscribe, and you can hit that notification bell down below, and I will see you next time. Bye. And I always have, and you want to burlesque. So neo burlesque is more, you